So this video is for my children. This is going to be the first of many. My goal here is to create knowledge, wisdom, information, something that they can look back on and, learn life lessons and things that I've learned over the years. A lot of the stuff I've already taught them. We've had very long conversations and discussions about all these different types of topics. But I think it's good to be able to put it in a place where they can go back and recall it on YouTube or share it with their children or share it with their friends and family. Everybody's welcome to watch these videos, and hopefully people will gain from these videos. Today I want to talk about a community and what a community is. A community can be big, can be small. It's basically the core people that you surround yourself with, your family, your friends. It's your neighborhood that you live in. It's the city, the state, the country, the world. We're all a community. There's just closer communities and further apart communities. And in your core community, you want to focus on being around people that are going in the same direction with you. Positive people, people that are producers or givers versus people that are takers. The difference between a producer and a taker is a producer is somebody who contributes to the community. They help the community grow. Either a mechanic, an engineer, a doctor, a pharmacist, grocery store clerk, everybody that's actually contributing to make things move forward and make life possible. Then you have the takers, people that are thieves, robbers, burglars, murderers, people that sell illegal drugs that hurt the community and don't help the community. Those are the people that you want to avoid. You don't want to surround yourself with takers, because no community can survive if it's just takers, because there's no one producing. And if there's no one producing, the takers have no one to take from. So you don't want to be around takers. You want to be around producers. And if you meet takers, you want to teach them how to become a producer so that they can be a productive person in the community. So you're going to be influenced by whoever you socialize with in your community. So let's get more in depth with communities now. So if you're in a community and you're the only person who is a producer and you're producing all the resources and you're basically taking care of the whole community, that's great for you, but it's bad for everybody else. And what would happen is, in that community, there's 100 people, there's you, and you provide for everybody. The problem you're going to have is if you get sick or something happens to your business or just things go bad for whatever reason, and you no longer are producing, everybody in your community is relying on you, and you don't have anyone that you can go and say, hey, I need help, because nobody's producing. You're the only producer. So you don't want to be in a community where you're the only person, or where only one person is producing and nobody else is producing. If you're in a community where you're the only producer, you want to teach everyone else in the community how to produce. You want to teach them so that they can produce, and when you run out of resources, you can go to them and they can support you until you recoup and have more resources. And vice versa, when they run out of resources, they can rely on you. The more producers you have in your community, the stronger your community will be. But if your community is filled with takers, you're hurting your community. It creates dissension. It creates people going against one another. The last thing that you want to have in your community is people that are lacking, people that are in need. It's not fair to put people in that situation where they're in need. If you can't provide for your family, you can't provide food, shelter, water, the necessities for life, then you're put in a bad situation. And now in your mind, you're like, this is a life or death situation as that person who's in need. And your number one goal is to be able to protect your family, take care of your family, provide for your family, make sure that, they can eat and, they can continue to survive. And so because of that mindset, you're going to go out and do things that you shouldn't do. You're going to go out and steal, you're going to rob, you may take somebody's life. And that isn't a fair situation. So we never want to put anyone in a situation where they have to feel like they're in a life or death situation. because they're going to do things that they don't want to do, but they feel is necessary. And so ultimately, as a producer, if you can teach everybody else how to produce, then you can prevent people from having to feel like they're in that situation. And when you're in a community where people are lacking and people feel like they're in that situation, and there's a small amount of resources, everybody in the community is going to fight over those resources. And when they're fighting over those resources, they don't trust each other. But a community filled with producers, where everybody has abundance and everybody's able to help each other and everybody's has appreciation for one another, you don't have them fighting over each other. You don't have the distrust. You don't have loyalty issues. You don't have any of those issues because there's no reason to have those issues. Everybody's working together and everybody's helping one another. And so they grow to appreciate one another, and they grow to become, a solid community, a family, a core group. And once your community is producing and everybody's producing, now what should your community do? Your community should reach out to other communities outside of that smaller community and help those communities produce. Because the ultimate goal isn't just to have a small community all by itself right here and millions of other communities around it that aren't producing and just this community producing. Because these other communities are going to come to take what you have because they don't have a choice. But if you teach all the communities around you how to produce, and everybody's learning how to produce, and everyone's producing all around the world, then nobody needs to come take from other people because everybody can produce what they want. It gets more in depth because obviously certain parts of the world you can only produce this and you can only produce that, and people want this and people want that. But ultimately, if people have the ability to survive, they have the ability to get food, water, shelter, the necessities for life, then they're not lacking. And so they have no reason other than desires or wants to attack other people. And it creates a better environment for everybody, and it doesn't make people feel like they're in a life or death situation. So communities are important, and you really need to be a strong person in whatever community you end up in, and you need to help all the people in the community produce. Don't keep all of your knowledge to yourself. Everybody wants to just hoard knowledge and hoard wisdom and hoard all these secrets when it doesn't benefit the community, it doesn't benefit you. Because if you're the only one with all the power and everybody else around you doesn't have power, and another community comes in and attacks, and they all have shared their knowledge and their wealth and their power amongst each other, they're going to be more powerful than your community. And you're going to get wiped out. You're going to be taken off the board. Game over. So share with everyone, build up everybody, and be a good person. Ultimately, there's a lot to think about in your community where you live and how you support the community and how you benefit the community. But the community is everything. It's a place where your kids are going to grow up. It's a place where your family is going to grow up. You don't want your family growing up in a community that's lacking. You don't want your family and your children having to go through all of the difficulties in a community that's lacking. In those communities, they're going to have hardships, they're going to have enemies, they're going to have people who are trying to take from them because people feel like that's the only way that they can survive in their community. So build a strong community. Even if you're in a bad community, fix that community. And if you can't fix the community, move to another community and help build that community. But ultimately, surround yourself with good people that are all givers and people that are all going towards the same thing that you're going for, and that way you can be influenced to go in the same direction. You can have people hold you accountable and motivate you to move forward. So I know this video is long, but we're going to jump into enemies. Enemies they're everywhere. You're going to find enemies, whether you're their enemy or not, they consider you their enemy. And if you have an enemy, there's not a lot of choices you have. You can just ignore the enemy and they'll just continue to be your enemy and grow and grow and grow and have more and more anger towards you. Or you can deal with your enemy. Or you can get as far away from your enemy. It's really your choice what you do. But ultimately, for me, I prefer to deal with the enemies. I prefer to help them and teach them a better way than being my enemy. I try to show people that I'm not your enemy. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to do anything but make you better. I want to help you. I want you to become a producer. I want you to become somebody that other people can rely on. I want you to be a better human being. And if I'm capable of helping you do that, I'm going to help you do that. But if I'm not capable of helping you do that, then I'm going to try to find someone who can. Because I believe that people are your enemies not because they want to be your enemies. There are some people out there that will be your enemy just because that's the person that they are, and it is what it is, and you may never be able to help them get out of that mindset. But there's a lot of people that will become your enemy because of situations. And for example, maybe you two bumped into each other and you knocked him over, or he knocked you over, and no apology was made because you're in a rush and you guys kept going, and he now is angry with you and you are angry with him, and so he feels like, man, what this guy did was so disrespectful, or what I did was so disrespectful, he'll never forgive me, and now he feels resentment towards you and you feel resentment towards him. But maybe one of you is like, you know what, it wasn't a big deal, the other person's still holding a grudge, and since you guys aren't talking, you're not fixing the problem, you both think each other as enemies. But as soon as you approach that person, you say, hey, I'm sorry about whatever I did, or hey, let me help you out with whatever you need help with, or whatever the conversation may end up being, that person will realize, hey, this person's really not my enemy. And they'll be like, dude, I thought you were my enemy. I thought you didn't like me. Why'd you help me out? Why are you looking out for me? And their mindset will change, and you can actually end up being best friends. And I have a lot of people that I've had in my life that I thought were my enemies, and that consider me enemies. And as soon as we talked, now we're best friends. We've been great friends ever since. And you would have never believed that, me and that person would have been friends. And I've had people that I've gotten fights with that I'm best friends with now. So enemies aren't necessarily your enemies unless you make them your enemy. And if you communicate with your enemies, you can potentially find out that they don't want to be your enemy and they'd rather be your friend, and they'd rather work together to build something better between the two of you. Or some people just don't want nothing to do with anybody, and those people, you just leave them alone, let them be. Don't force people into anything. Don't force what you feel is right on other people. Let people see and learn on their own what is right, and kind of help guide them in why you believe your things are right, but never force anything on anyone, because it's not your place, it's not anyone's place to force somebody else to not be your enemy, to do the things that you do, or to act the way you do, because we all come from different cultures, different understandings, different ideologies, there you go, that word. We all come from different places that we grew up with, different understandings and different ways of living. And when people see that you're helping and that you're making a benefit and that you're, doing the right thing by other people, and you're treating people with respect and so forth, then if they like it and they see that it's good, then let them choose to do that on their own. Ultimately, enemies are something that can be dangerous, and so if you have an enemy that is wanting to harm you or hurt you, obviously you don't want to put yourself in a situation where they can harm you or where they can hurt you. You still want to help that person. You still want to guide that person to be a better person. In the Bible, if we bring it to what Jesus said, I tell you the truth. What did he say? He said, what good is it to love your friends and family? Even sinners do that. But I tell you the truth, you will not inherit the kingdom of heaven unless you love even your enemies. And what he was saying is, everybody loves their friends. Everybody loves their family. Even the worst of people love their friends and their family. But he's calling us to have a higher standard. And so we definitely want to love our enemies. We want to love everybody because we're all here on this earth together. And if we can help people that you consider your enemies, or people that aren't doing the right thing, to do the right thing and to change the way they live, or maybe they just don't have enough, and we can help them become producers where they are now having enough, where they're not in the need to take from other people, then we can better those people's lives, and we can better the community we live in, and not put people in situations that are unfair to them. Hopefully all of this stuff helps. I hope it was beneficial. I will do some more videos, and we've already talked about this before, but we'll talk about it again because we talk about everything. And yeah, I guess that's it. I'm gonna go inside and get working, and I'll make another video about something else next time I think about it.